Welcome to Two Trick Pony, a twice-monthly podcast where we explore all the ways that people have found and cultivated their second tricks, from theater to therapy and everything in between. We're your hosts. I'm Melissa Betters.
And I'm Clara Ma, and we thank you for joining us. Each week, we invite guests onto the show who have broken away from the expectations of their training, education, or CV to find fulfilling hobbies or even entirely new careers.
We take a look at how cultivating a multifaceted self can lead you to community, connection, and confidence.
We are super excited about this week's guest.
Today, we are joined by Cricket Leigh, whose fascinating and unexpected life story from an NYU-trained actress to a professional therapist and her mission to unite those tricks captured our imaginations.
For fans of the animated series Avatar: The Last Airbender, you might recognize our guest simply by her voice. Cricket was the voice of May, the deadpan and deadly sidekick of the show's main villain, Azula.
Needless to say, as a longtime Avatar fan, bringing Cricket onto our show was simply an honor.
Beyond her voice acting fame, we really loved this week's conversation because of Cricket's perspective as a therapist on her career transitions and the winding path of her life. For those who have been listening to Two Trick Pony since we started the show almost a full year ago, we are driven by the idea that being a two-trick pony might make us happier and healthier.
Our conversation today directly touches upon the mental health benefits of understanding ourselves as multifaceted. Given that, we wanted to briefly talk about some of the research in that area. Neither of us are experts in psychology, but we wanted to see what the research had to say.
One of the terms from psychology that I often hear is the growth mindset. In short, it's the belief that we can change and improve ourselves, such as how good we are at painting or how smart we are at math. The opposite is the fixed mindset, where people think that things can't change and that they are dealt their hand for life.
There's research that suggests that growth mindsets help with coping skills, and that those with growth mindsets tend to have lower psychological distress. Growth mindsets also might have positive effects on academic outcomes, mental health, and how well people function in social situations.
People in education are really interested in whether growth mindsets can be taught, especially to young people. What about for folks who are already well on their way down the career road?
Well, research on career transitions for older adults suggests that financial resources, family support, and intentionality in making the transition all contributed to a positive emotional outcome during career switches.
Intentionality seems to be key here if we are to feel that we have any agency over our lives. We also talked about more leisurely activities on the podcast, not full blow-up-your-life transitions, but things like hobbies and what we like to do for fun. It's possible that people who are happier do tend to engage more often in hobbies. But what about the other way around? Can engaging in hobbies improve well-being?
Some research has aimed to find that out. A study of older adults in England, Japan, the US, China, and 12 European countries found that hobbies and mental well-being do go together. Other work in psychotherapy suggests that taking up a hobby, such as among retirees, might decrease depressive symptoms. In our cursory search of academic studies, this seems to be a growing and exciting area of research and work.
You'll hear that reflected in our conversation today with Cricket, who is brimming with ideas and inspiration.
And with that, we're so excited for you to hear our conversation with our guest today, Cricket Leigh, calling in from Michigan. So welcome, Cricket Leigh, to the Two Trick Pony podcast. We are very excited to have you on today.
Thank you. I'm so excited. Thank you both. I really like your podcast, so I think I'm pretty psyched to be here.
Awesome.
Yeah, so for our listeners, can you just give a brief introduction of who you are and generally what we're going to talk about today?
Absolutely. So I have been very lucky in my past to be a voice actress and a stage actress, but most people know me as the voice for May in Avatar: The Last Airbender, which was a show that was on Nickelodeon many years ago, and now it was on Netflix, and now, of course, the show has blown up in other forms, which is awesome. And then I had pivoted to a totally different career as a therapist, as a licensed social worker. So I myself am in the 2-trick or more pony club, and I'm really just excited to talk about that.
We're going to start, I think, by talking about that first trick that you mentioned, which was your career in acting. So what was your education or training like for your acting career? When did you sort of decide that that was what you originally wanted to do with your life?
Well, I was really young. I was probably maybe 10, and I was just like singing and dancing and, one of these kids that was just writing songs at my granny's house on the weekend, like, had a pad of paper, and I was like, I'm going to be the next, whatever, whoever was famous at the time. I'm going to age myself, but like Tiffany, she was like in the mall singing. I was like, I'm going to be a mall singer. Like that was the coolest thing ever. And so I was doing all that, and I was in dance and singing lessons and all that. And they were doing Annie at the local Equity Theater. And so I was like, oh, I want to audition for that. So I did. There were hundreds of girls. It was like this crazy cattle call. But I got an orphan, Kate. And I just remember being like, this is the greatest. This is the greatest job. Like, I can't believe I get to do this job, And that was it. I mean, it bit me. I was also a professional equity production. So I got to be around professional people getting their equity card. At 10, I was like, that's my future. I'm going to do what they're doing. I'm going to go to college for this. I'm going to make a career. It wasn't just play. So that was the start. And it was musical theater that I then thought, okay, this is what I'll do.
No, that's so interesting. Yeah, as somebody who also used to be in musical theater and things when I was a kid, that's very brave to know at such a young age that was something that you really wanted to commit yourself to.
I mean, I think ignorant might be more apt. I mean, I don't think I knew anything different. And also, I came from a family where I had a single parent, and education was stressed, but nobody in my family had really gone to college or really done any professional careers. So it wasn't modeled for me. So I just thought, well, yeah, this is great. Like, this is going to be great for me. A lawyer was like eons away as a concept. And I was super ADHD, but didn't know it, wasn't diagnosed. It was the 80s, and girls were really a forgotten pocket for that diagnosis because mine didn't manifest physically. It was mentally. So I just was talking, and I had, I think, maybe, 40 different slips of paper that I kept that say talking out of turn, had to stay after class. And I kept them because I'm like, this is hilarious. Like, that's me now. Like, that's just who I was as a kid. I didn't want attention. I just couldn't pay attention. I was just like, oh my God, get me out of here. You're so boring, and then I'd get Fs. So like no one could really put it together that I just couldn't pay attention to these people. So being on stage, I could memorize, 100 lines. I could focus on that. And it was interesting to me. So I think in a way it might have been brave, but it was also the only thing that clicked in my little body and mind. Like, oh, this feels good and right for me.
When did that change for you? Like, when did you start thinking that you wanted to do something else? And what was that like?
I did not think I wanted to do something else until I was 30. So I went a whole long time as a professional actor and just gave it everything, right? You give it everything. You give it your youth. You give it your blood, sweat, and tears. I followed my dreams. I did everything that I wanted to do. I became a writer. I really sunk my soul and have no regrets. But around 30, I was like getting this sort of depression about it. I was like, this feels like it's not giving back at all. And everybody would say, well, you have to wait for the right person. You have to wait for this chance. And I'm like, I don't want to wait for anyone to pick me. It just felt, I don't know. I can't explain it. It just didn't vibe with me anymore. And I was like, I need to create my own work, which I was doing. I was writing a one-woman show. I ended up writing a 2-person show about Janis Joplin. I played Janis. So all these things were going, but it just stopped. Sort of the sadness or the malaise, it wasn't feeding it anymore. And by 38, I was like, oh my God, I think I have to stop this, even though I love it, because there are no fruits being born of this. Like forget money. I had no health insurance, and I had done Avatar, I'd done all these wonderful shows, but I still had 4 jobs. I mean, I was a makeup artist, a professional makeup artist, doing weddings for, huge stars. I was an interior decorator doing like huge famous people's homes. Like I was just working and going from thing to thing. I was multi-passionate even then, right? Mm-hmm. Pivoting from thing to thing. But my heart was in performing, and I thought, there's got to be something else. And so I took myself out of LA. I said, let me do something drastic. I'm going to move back to New York at 40. I'm going to audition one more time for grad school. I auditioned at NYU, Juilliard, and Yale. And I'm going to let the world or God decide if this is supposed to be my future. And I got waitlisted at NYU, didn't get into the others. And by the way, going at 40 as a woman is literally the dumbest, craziest idea. That is like, that almost never happens. For a man, maybe. But I didn't care because I know if it's meant for me, it is. And so I just marinated for a couple years. And what I came to was I either want to be a writer for SNL, which is a huge dream, or a therapist. And I was like,
wow, very different.
Very.
Yeah.
And I was like, these are the only interests in the entire world, or I might as well just be dead. Like I have no other interest. I might as well literally just lay down in the road. I was like, yeah, that's it. If I can't be a freaking performer, I don't want anything else. And my girlfriends were like, therapist. And I'm like, what? Ew, no. Like I didn't want them to pick that. I'm like, guys, no, the other one. They're like, no, you're everyone's therapist. We come to you for everything. And I'm like, but that's what friends do. No, that's your calling. And I was like, but I'm old. I'm ADHD. I'm going to flunk. I'm going to be the worst student. Everyone's going to be better. Like everything started coming out. All my insecurities from 10 years old, 8 years old. I barely graduated high school. I was that kid who thought I was stupid, knew I was bright, but thought I was stupid. And people don't know the difference.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit more about that?
I knew I was bright. I knew I had a brain and I had ideas. I knew I knew people. I could understand what they were thinking, what their motivations were, who was going to cheat on their husband. I knew all of that. I got A's in Shakespeare and F's and just about everything else. And so I felt really stupid, but very bright. And I didn't know how to explain that to people. It was just a real insecurity. I said, okay. And I applied to a couple places in Chicago and New York and back in Michigan, where I'm from. And my mom said, come back home, live for free. And so at 41, I gave up everything I'd ever known. I mean, I went to a tiny town from New York City. She came in a U-Haul. And I was like, oh my God. I couldn't afford, anything. She had to pay for every single, and they didn't have a lot of money. Like it was just like, okay, we're just gonna figure this out. And the U-Haul pulled up to this house that I was like, oh my God, my life is over. Like I'm 41. I have no health insurance. I'm a loser. My acting career's over. I did it all for what? All these judgments. Yes, there was the hope I can help people, and that was big because I wasn't giving anything to people as an actor. I was giving nothing. Yeah, some entertainment, but what was I really doing? I wasn't helping humanity, and I really wanted to, and it kept me going. And I got into school. It was a nervous wreck. I had all these people at 22, and I was almost 42, and they were like, what's your name? And I was like, oh my God. I'm 100. You could be my kids. Like, I was just like, and I just kept it together. We ended up being great friends. Like, I loved it. I loved my education. I just stayed really authentic. I didn't say anything about my acting. I didn't tell anybody. I didn't say anything about Avatar. Oh my God, no. Like, I was just like, I'm going to be a professional, And by second year, people found out and they were like, you're the coolest. And I was like, no, I'm not, just a dork, and I just ended up loving it. And then I took 10 years to build my practice. And then I started building the two of them together. I started saying, my brain is going to break because I have forsaken one love for another, and that's not okay. I have to weave them together.
That's a great segue for our question, which is that we might call you a two-trick pony, where right, your first trick is acting and your second trick is your therapy practice. And can you talk a little bit more about what the connection is between those two and what you kind of built out as you were just saying?
Yes. You mean just how they've
Yeah, how do they fit together?
Yeah.
You know?
They do. And I didn't know that at the time, right? When I said to my friends, no, that was just the only other thing I'm interested in. And I was interested because I had been through therapy and loved my therapist in California, like loved her. She was like a second mom. So what I came to know was, oh my gosh, I'm a natural. Because first day of grad school, I remember this gentleman said, okay, you're all here and you all want to learn about all these different modalities and all these different models of therapy. And you're going to memorize them and it's not going to mean anything. So you might as well not waste your time. And I perked up because I'm like, He goes, the only thing that matters is rapport. And I was like, well, I can do that. I mean, that part's the easy thing to me. He said, rapport is the thing that's 99% of the thing that makes people change. And I was like, what? He's like, the relationship between you and the therapist. And I wrote that down and I just was like, I don't have to do anything else. I mean, I learned, but I was like, that's all I have to do. All I have to do is be me and connect to that person. And I don't have any problem with that. I can connect to any human. That's like the easiest thing for me. So I realized that when I started working with people, and my first job was with the hardest kids, the ones that are have the least amount of resources and have the hardest behaviors. And I was in their homes. So I was a home-based, therapist. I'd be at their house. I'd be at their trailer. I'd be at their doctor appointment with them saying, oh, we don't want, he's not happy with that. Well, he's 4. Well, I don't care. He's 4, but I'm not. And he and I don't want that. And the parents would be there screaming and swearing. I'd be like, okay, let's keep the swear words because doctor's not going to listen if we're swearing. Like I had to join with families and grandparents and substance users. And I mean, I was thrown into the hardest scenarios. And as a regular outpatient therapist, that never would happen. It was the greatest training. And all I had to do was be an actor. I had to improvise. I had to use humor. I had to be a writer. I had to be fun, silly clown. I mean, that's cricket. Like I was made for it. And I grew up with colorful characters in my family. I was not privileged. And so I was like, man, he reminds me of my uncle. Oh man, he reminds me of my cousin. Oh, this is fun. Okay, I'm not uncomfortable. And some people at work would be like, he chased me off his property. I'm like, really? I love that guy. Like, and so I just found myself sliding into this world, loving these families and loving these kids and advocating for them and being hard on them. If they were like, I'd be like, why did you go to your neighbors and steal all their watches, dude? Like, what are you doing there? You just can't tell time. You need all the watches. Like, you just learn to roll with it and be funny and they know when you're real.
I was going to say teenagers, I feel like most people would say that teenagers are like somewhat young people, have nothing to lose, so they're the scariest.
Yeah.
But there's always some people that they respect.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you've been able to pinpoint that. I wanted to ask, do you specialize with working with kids?
I don't. I mean, that was my first population because those were the only jobs open because they're the hardest. Nobody wanted them. But I was like, oh, I kind of love it. And I worked with these teens and then I worked with the younger people. I even worked with infants, which was not my favorite. It just didn't click for me, infant mental health, even though it's an incredible field. And you work with the moms and even with babies in utero, right? So you're working with young moms and moms with who are pregnant. And then I became a supervisor. I did outpatient, which I wasn't really a fan of because it's kind of boring. You're just like waiting for people to come over. And you're like, hi, welcome. What are your issues? And then I started doing couples. And couples and family are my favorite. The hour goes by so fast. Everyone's arguing. I'm like, it's like a symphony. I love it. I just try to make it as fun. I'm like, this shouldn't be painful. We should actually try to have fun with our terrible issues. Let's try to have a laugh. And then we can also be like, that sucked and that hurt. But let's also be like, okay, but we're not dying. I mean, nobody's going to die in here or when we leave, And then people go, oh yeah, I guess we're not actually going to die. Okay. And then we just relax a little and I'll be like, so what are you doing? Why are you doing that to your sister? Or what, why are you two come here every week and you never do what I tell you? Why are we meeting? You're wasting everyone's time. But I'm very direct. And we were taught not to be that way in grad school. They said, don't tell people what to do. Let them lead. And I don't do that. And I have lots of people on a wait list. So I'm like, I guess they like that. I don't know. And as an actor, I was very assertive too. So there's so many things that feed the therapist. It's really weird. I didn't think that in the beginning, but they're very similar. It's all storytelling.
Yeah, and I was going to say there, what you just mentioned really does connect with theater just in general. The fact that you have this pathos that you can get through stories on stage. A lot of plays are not about happy-go-lucky times. It's about trials and tribulations and hard circumstances in people's lives. And so it makes sense to me as you're talking why that sort of theater to therapy connection would be so natural.
Yeah, and I was going to add that there's also I noticed this in some ways. Melissa pulled the theater card early on in our relationship, and it was because so much of building relationships and theater is about communication.
Yeah.
And when we we'll watch a movie where the communication is just not happening, and Melissa gets so frustrated by it. And she's like, all of this could be avoided if people just said what they mean.
Yes, isn't it? And that's every couple, right? You're like, oh my God, all they have to do is sit down. But people are afraid of conflict for millions of reasons. And I'm a conflict lover. I love it. I actually look forward to it.
That's great for a therapist.
I love it. As a human, I'm like, guys, it's like dirt in the corner. We're just going to be let's get rid of it. It's so fun. It's so fun to clean. And they're like, no. But I'm like, yes, it is. And then you can be done and look at that, all that space you have. And then you clear the air. And then each time you do it, it's easier and easier. But people are just, they're afraid.
Yeah, definitely. Well, as a therapist and as an actor and a writer, you mentioned that you've recently sort of rediscovered or re-entered that sort of artistic part of yourself. Can you talk a little bit about what prompted that return to your acting and writing?
Yeah. Yes, I will say I've got two stepkids, two boys. They're now 19 and 18, but they have a lot of their own mental health concerns. And raising them, so when it was COVID, they were in middle school, high school, and it's been a lot on us. It has been for millions of parents, but it took so much of my bandwidth. I didn't even notice that I was doing nothing creative. I kind of just thought, well, I don't want to be doing that right now. Big deal. Cricket just doesn't feel like being creative. But then once I kind of got over that hump and I realized I'm letting this raising of kids take away my creativity, I was like, oh no, this isn't going to work. This isn't sustainable for me. I started having dreams about writing and I was like, oh, I think my subconscious is telling me I'm supposed to be doing something. Oh, it's like a little ghost. He's like, hi. Oh, hey, you're supposed to be. And so I was like, oh, I think I'm supposed to listen to that. So we started listening. And I kept having a dream about something very dark. And I was like, no, we're not writing about that. No, we're going to do a cabaret. Yeah. And I got all jazzed up. Well, no, I sat down to write the cabaret and I was bored in 5 seconds. But this dream kept coming at me. And I was like, oh, God. So I wrote it and I got a grant from my city and I got a dramaturg and then I got a director. And it's been a year and a half and it premieres in October. And it's a one-woman play about a school shooting in a town. And it's because I dreamt it and it wouldn't leave me alone. I didn't want to write about this. I mean, I didn't particularly think, oh, this is a great, who wants to write about that particularly? But it was just burning in me. It got a hold of me and it was like, hey, this is something that I think people should see in American theater. And so that has been so good for me, just outside of being a therapist. And the goal is to do it and then maybe do some solo festivals. And then I want to publish it and like sell it to universities. And then they can just take it. They don't have to do it as a one person show. They can have like 10 characters do it and they'll each have a monologue. And it would be great. It would be great for, students because it's not very, very dark, actually, even though it's a concept that's dark. It's about townspeople. And in fact, the shooter, I'm grappling with maybe not even having him in it, right? So I'm just kind of seeing where I want it, seeing how I want it to be. But that's been really gratifying. And just writing, I'm thinking about writing where I work now. I work at a psychiatric hospital with women. And I love these women. They're like incredible. And I think about writing about them, So I'm very inspired daily to keep that creative piece like you are, right? To keep your music going, even though you're working in, like you keep the left and the right brain going. I don't know how. I didn't set out to. Again, I'm like listening to the universe. I'm listening in my word, God. That's what I listen to. But for me, God is giving me these things and I want to be dutiful and listen and partner and out comes this, inspiration.
No, it sounds amazing. Yeah, I do think that's, when you have, we've heard from other people we've talked to that, when you have an idea that keeps coming up and won't let you go, that you really need to
don't ignore it.
Yeah, to honor that and to really listen to it. And so I think it's really important.
Yeah, I think it is too. I think it's worth saying, there are people that are vilified. Obviously, they do bad things, but I want to look at, can they be a victim too?
Right.
Like, do we have it in our hearts to like allow that? And most people don't.
The best plays are the ones that really challenge people.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, you've touched upon this a little bit already, but what are some of the obstacles that you encountered in your effort to transition to another type of, career? And also what kept you motivated?
I think the biggest obstacle was myself. I just almost couldn't bear that I was going to, quote, give up. It's like people that get divorced in my work. They're just like, I can't. And I'm like, why? What is that about? Well, I don't want to fail. I feel like I knew it wasn't a failure, but there was a piece of me that was like, if I pivot, I am leaving a child that I birthed and said, good job, girl. You're doing great in the world. Bye. I'm abandoning a child. That's what it felt like. And it was so hard. My brain, I just didn't know how to have both.
Right.
Because it was such a different career. It wasn't like I was like, well, I'm going to go be a producer. It was like, I had to go back to school and like, what? 20 years later, it was just so jarring. So I think my mental game was the hardest thing at first. My feelings of inadequacy being in school, I worked harder than everybody else. I was like, I have to get A's. And then I was like, what are you doing? You're being a freak. Like, stop. No one cares. What are you doing this for? And I had to be like, I would have panic attacks. I've never had panic attacks before. I was really like freaking out. Went to the doctor and he's like, oh, are you starting your clinical, work with patients? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, well, that's normal. And I was like, oh, it is? Like, I didn't know. And he's like, yes, honey, you're going to start working with human beings. And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, you're going to work with their brains. I'm like, yeah, I guess, and he was like, it's normal. And I was like, okay. And I just needed people. I didn't even know people in this field. I was just like, I'm going to go do this, And so I needed time, and I had wonderful professors and wonderful people. And I did get there, but it was rough at first, mentally. It wasn't the money. I mean, look, it was the first time I ever had health insurance in 10 years. Like, there were some great things about it. The thing that I could go to work and count on a paycheck, those were wonderful. And I knew that I was a character actor. I knew since I was 10. I'm not an ingenue. So I knew I wasn't going to miss anything by going 10 years, 20 years. It wasn't going to change my career as an actor because I'm short, curvy and have this voice. I'm a character actor. So I did that, and now I'm coming back in a certain way, and it's fine. And I'm a better actor now because of this. I'm such a better actor.
Yeah, that's actually one of the next questions that I was literally going to ask, which is, now that you've kind of returned to this world of writing and theater and acting, how have you felt like you've changed, or your approach to things have changed now that you've had this other experience with therapy?
God, that's a great question. I think I have way more empathy for characters than I ever did. I think before I was a quick study with more ego. Now I take a lot more time with way less ego. I'm like, who is this? What happened to her? Well, maybe the dad didn't mean, before I took things at face value. Now I'm like, well, hold on. Did dad have a trauma history? I'm very much like, let's be curious. Let's be curious. I don't want to judge this or her family or this or that. And maybe she had money, but it didn't mean a lot. Like, I'm very much more questioning. And so when I did a reading of this play in Chicago in November of last year, I just did a reading for my artistic friends and people I knew. And I was nervous because I said to the man who directed me, who I love, and he passed away a few months ago. He was amazing, Matt DeCaro, and he was a teacher of mine. And he directed it just for that night. And I said, Matt, I just haven't done that. I haven't acted like I haven't done this in years. And he said, you're a prize fighter. And I was like, oh my God. He's like, it'll be fine. You're just going to do it. You're going to be great. And I was like, okay. Because, you're just reading one monologue to the next, and you just have to give it enough of a difference for people to be like, what is she doing? Who is she playing? And it was so fun. And after 1 hour, it felt like 10 minutes. And I had so much fun that I was like, okay, this is why I'm on the planet. Yes, I'm a therapist, but that's why I'm on the planet. And I knew it, and he knew it. And I was like, thank you, God. Like, that's all I need to know. Yes, I'm doing other things, but that's why I'm on this planet, is to speak stories. It's like I just get my existence. And so I am better for having been a therapist and a healer and a teacher doing those monologues now than I would have been if someone wrote that and had me read it 10 years ago.
Yeah, that's really fascinating that I don't know, that these kind of two sides have just kind of fed off of each other, and the sum of what is it? It's
greater than the sum of its
parts.
Oh yeah. I know. I never would have thought it. I mean,
it's like in hindsight, it's like, oh, it makes so much sense, but right. I can imagine at the time it is true.
I didn't know what was going to happen.
So many of the people that we talked to also talk about that. You said it's like abandoning like your child, when you leave your career. We talked to a lot of people who have this like strong.
Do they say that?
You didn't say it in such those same terms, but I think it's like similar.
So dramatic.
No, but it's true. I think people feel a genuine sense of loss when you even consider moving to something else. But
after spending so much time and especially
40 years. I mean, and NYU, which cost a fortune, like so much money and time, and everyone said, don't waste your time at this. It's a pipe dream. And so when, it's not like I went to business school. When it's a pipe dream, you feel even worse because you're like, oh crap, I just spent so much time on a dream that's like crazy, and it wasn't a waste. All of my best friends are actors. I didn't waste it, but it's just wild. And my mom will often say, "Oh, I wonder if you had done this differently, if this," and I just think it just wasn't supposed to be my life.
I'm actually curious. Did the kind of resurgence of interest in Avatar change things for you?
It did. I mean, in terms of, I'd never done a Comic-Con. I would have been like, what? I know Dante would do them, and I'm like, that's so weird. Okay, I don't get it. I didn't get it. I just thought it was cool. And I'm like, well, he lives in LA. That's cool. And a couple of the other people still live there, and I couldn't wait to leave. Like, I was ready when I left at, 38 or 39. But yeah, so the resurgence of that, I was seeing clients on Zoom. And my husband came in the room and he's like, hey, your cartoon. And I'm like, what? He's like, it's number 1 on Netflix. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, the cartoon you were on. I'm like, cartoon? What cartoon? Like he doesn't know. And he's like, Avatar. And I'm like, what? No, it's not. Don't be weird. And I went in there and I was like, and I took a picture of it because I was like, how is this happening?
Yeah.
Because I wasn't thinking that they had bought it during that time because, So then I'm like, oh, I'm going to get on this thing called TikTok. It looks fun. And I went on there. I'm like, hey, everyone. And all these people were coming on there. I just did it to be fun. Like, hey, I'm a therapist now, but this is so cool. Thanks for watching. I didn't think anything. And then they were like, you should do Comic-Con. So I did one. I didn't have any pictures or anything. I just went to talk to people. I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. Like, I love it now. And I go to like 5 to 6 a year. There was one time I did like 12, depending on my work schedule. I just love it. Like, yeah. So it made that more visible. I got on social media, which I hadn't really done before. And my patients or clients don't ever really know. They don't Google me. It's really funny. I'm so happy. They just kind of don't. Or the ones that did find out, like flipped out. And then I'm like, okay, but seriously, what's going on with you and your mom? Like, tell me everything. And then they totally forget about it because we're in their problems. And then they might leave the office and freak out, but they're fine.
Yeah, that was actually going to be one of the questions that I asked, which was, have you ever had a situation where these kind of two worlds collided in a strange way like that?
Yeah, it kind of like one couple had all these Funko Pops behind them, and they were like D&D nerds, and I was like, oh, this is gonna get a little funky. And it did finally, but when I had to finally do their breakup, we had a breakup session and everything, they're both crying. It's like, cricket's just cricket. I mean, this is sad stuff, and I'm here to help. And it doesn't matter what I did 20 years ago or what I do next week. And I wasn't also at the time auditioning for voiceovers. I kept that very separate. Only in the last year did I go back to my agent in LA, and I'm now currently auditioning. So I'm auditioning and booking, video games and kind of fun stuff. And so I'm doing them concurrently and going to Comic-Con. So it's like I'm really trying to balance that and do this play and see these patients and give them what they need. And that is hard. It's a big balance.
Well, knowing that, we are very grateful that you took the time to talk to us.
Oh, of course. No, yeah, of course. But I want people to hear these stories because I'm passionate about, people being multi-passionate, doing what I call a plot twist. A pivot is a plot twist. That means take the rug out from under yourself. You will not die. You will be fine. You will survive.
I think when we were setting up this call, you mentioned that you sometimes talk about this trajectory and this kind of theme with students, or maybe even like clients that you work with. And what are the types of questions or topics or concerns that come up in those conversations?
Well, they're really scared to have more than one interest. They're like, but I thought you're supposed to pick one thing. And I'm like, oh, no, that's such an old school. That is something like our grandparents or even my parents did. And I'm like, oh, that just isn't sustainable anymore. And in fact, it doesn't enhance your life. The best thing is to go ahead and have a multi-passionate life because they will influence the other. And sometimes you can have more than one talent, that can make you a living. And you should capitalize on those, broaden your horizons. So I try to tell people that, like, it's scary. You don't want to be a master of none. I mean, that's a tricky spot. But you do want to say, hey, I'm going to acting school, and this looks kind of scary, but I also really love political science, right? Like, okay, cool. Let's dive into that too. Like, what does that look like, and how can I do both? Or, let's do that. Or what if you're pre-med and then you're like, but I like voice acting. And I'll be like, cool, let's do one. And then side hustle can be voice acting, or whatever it is.
I really like that because that is one of the motivations for why we started this podcast. Both of us, having gone through the kind of PhD route, we interacted with students quite a bit and taught students. And Right, I had students who very much were like, oh, I'm going to make a mistake. I'm going to make a mistake. It's going to knock me off the path, and I'm going to be like, it's going to mess my life up. And I was like, you are 19. You're here to explore and understand, like, what you're interested in. And it's not like you have to pick, 3 pathways, which, can get very narrowed at some types of universities. So I'm really glad that you have had the interactions with students and kind of reminded them of this importance of having multiple interests.
And I'll say, here's what I've done. Like I have a slide where I show all the jobs I've had, and they're like, oh my God. I'm like, and these weren't just like jobs. Like I did these and did them really well, did the highest you could do at them, and still failed in some areas, still quit, still was like, okay, done with that. Well, I've learned all I could about that. Okay, I'm really hungry. What else do I want to learn? I'm really fascinated by that. I really want to learn about that. And as a kid, I would do that. And I look back now thinking, I used to feel like a failure because I was like, oh my God, I keep like mastering something and then changing. I must have a problem. And now I'm like, no, I'm just one of those people. I'm one of those people that I didn't see modeled for me who couldn't just do one thing. I'd get into a niche and I'd master it and I had to move to a new one, and that's okay. And some people need to know that that's okay. I think it's just scary because parents are like, what? No, that's not okay. What's wrong with you? You need to get married. You need to do this. It's like, I'm the opposite. I got married late, 46. I had no kids. I'm like a total rebel or weirdo or whatever. I'm all of those things and have a really fun life, a really fulfilling life.
Yes, absolutely. Well, given that, where do you see yourself taking this all into the future? What do you foresee as something, do you have anything or any future aspirations or goals or things that you could see yourself learning?
I mean, I really want to do stand-up comedy.
Ooh.
I know, sounds crazy. But I really want to do stand-up comedy and do a lot about being a therapist in a psych hospital, which is terrible. But, I have such fun things to talk about. I mean, it wouldn't be real stories, obviously. I have to, keep that. I would make it up. But I think stand-up about being a therapist itself, such fun stuff. And I haven't seen that. I haven't seen it. And I just think that would de-stress a lot of therapists because we talk about it in private, but it would be so fun to just see someone representing you. Also stepmom. Mm-hmm. Like I need to break some of that comedy down too. So that I also would love to develop something around being a stepmom, maybe a TV show. I'm not sure, but I need to see that represented. Again, these are like creative, but they also de-stress me. So those would be great. I want to travel, which has nothing to do with what I want to do other than just, I haven't been to Italy. Why do I keep just not making it happen? Like, I'm not making it happen. It's just sitting there like a dream, and you can't have that. You've got to make it happen. So that's something I'm just doing. And then just writing more. I want to write more and not star in it because that's stressful. I just got pigeonholed into doing this dang play, and that's fun. But now I just need to write something for other people to do, and I think that would be really fun too. And just voiceovers, like I want to do voiceovers. I just want to keep being creative. I would love to motivational speak. I would love to go to places and talk to people who think they don't have money or have intelligence and be like, I get it. I didn't either. And you might have other awesome things, or you might be looking at intelligence wrong. Like, what if, I want to be inspirational. So somehow I see myself doing that. I don't know what it's going to look like.
Well, you definitely are inspirational, particularly for me. Hearing your energy and the fact that you have all these goals and these things that you want to learn, it really is energizing to listen to.
Oh.
Yeah.
Thank you. You guys are awesome. Thank you.
Well, we'd like to close out the interview with a few quick rapid fire questions. So these are going to be quick questions, quick answers.
Okay.
All right. So first question, writing or acting?
Acting.
Favorite play or musical?
Favorite play is Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, Tennessee Williams.
Oh, I love Tennessee Williams.
Me too.
I wrote my I have to say this, I wrote my extended paper on Tennessee Williams when I was in high school.
Are you kidding?
It was like a comparative, like literature thing.
Melissa, I'm sorry, but I've had a major crush on Claire here. If I had known that, I would have been like, Tennessee Williams.
It's okay, I understand.
I had a writing teacher who named his daughter Tennessee.
Oh my God. Yeah. I love Tennessee Williams. Okay, that's cool.
What is one idea from therapy that you always return to?
I think when someone's giving me an excuse and I say, and how's that going? Like, how's it going for you? Because you said that, but how's it actually going?
Oof. Yeah, that would work. Can you share a fun fact about voice acting?
You can literally roll out of bed in your pajamas and go to a voiceover acting audition.
Oh, wow.
Now, we used to have them in the ad agencies, and you could still go in your pajamas. But even so, if you went to your agents, people would show up in their pajamas with their babies, strollers. Can you watch her? I'll be right back. It was great. Like, no one cared. There was no vanity.
What's your favorite line from Avatar fans ask you to recite?
Okay, there's two things. The favorite line that everybody asks me to say is, "You miscalculated. I love Zuko more than I fear you." Mm-hmm. But they ask my favorite line to say, and my favorite is, "Please tell me you're here to kill me."
That's a good one, too.
So she has so many good ones. I mean, she is written so cool. Such a cool teenager. She's so steady. You know, she's different than the others. They're all different. Mm-hmm. But to be a teenager and that composed. I mean, I was a mess. I was not composed. I did not know what I wanted. She's like, this is what I want. Don't bother me with these dumb things you're bringing me, Zuko. This is a color I hate. You're stupid. Like, it's kind of amazing.
She's an icon for a reason.
She's an icon. I love her. I got very lucky.
Finally, do you have any last words of wisdom that you would like to share?
My words of wisdom are just try not to live in fear. It will shorten your life. It really does. It takes years off your life. Instead, broaden your horizons because it will keep you alive.
And then last but not least, where can people find you and your work?
Oh, well, you can find me on Instagram, which is at Cricket Leigh Talks, because I talk as a therapist and I talk as a voiceover artist. Or you can just go to my website at cricketleigh.com.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for speaking with us today. It was a really amazing conversation.
Yeah, I feel the energy.
Oh, thanks, guys. I love it too. I love people. I love just, I'm just a really joyful person. That's funny. People always say I'm more like Ty Lee than I am May, and I am. I'm totally Ty Lee energy. But I mean, I have some May too, but I'm very joyful. And so this was an absolute pleasure to get to just to inspire people, and talk about these tricks that we have, right? The 2 tricks, the more tricks. And I love your podcast. I think it's really important to let people know that they can curate and have more than one interest, and that it's good for you. It's good for your health, it's good for your mind, and it's good for the world.
Listeners, thank you so much for tuning in this week. We will be back with new episodes in the fall.
If you want to get in touch with us, or if you know a 2-trick pony who would be a great fit for the show, please let us know by email at 2trickponypodcast@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Instagram at 2trickponypodcast. Those are both with the number 2.
And if you liked this podcast, please rate us and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.